Biopantheism, Meta-Religion for a Vegan World by Nathan Mornday. Copyright 2020, all rights reserved. Chapter 1, What is Biopantheism? Biopantheism is a philosophical and spiritual ideology that involves the overlapping of four distinct but interconnected pre-existing philosophies or belief systems: pantheism, pandeism, anti-theism, and veganism. It is an advanced form of pantheism that includes ethics, morality, environmentalism, animal rights activism, and a speculative theory concerning nature and the pre-Big Bang origins of the universe, as well as the ultimate future destiny of all conscious life. It is classical pantheism codified, defined, and combined with these other components, with a particular emphasis on living organisms, biology, life in the physical world, science, evolution, ecological awareness, and holistic health. If you are unfamiliar with the term pantheism, it is simply the belief, awareness, or theological notion that equates God with the universe and views all of nature as sacred and divine in its totality. To give you a bit more perspective, the official definition states, pantheism is the belief that the universe as a whole, or nature as the totality of everything, is identical with divinity. It is the philosophical, spiritual, or religious view that everything in existence comprises one all-encompassing, immanent God. Pantheists thus do not believe in a distinct, personal, or anthropomorphic God. Those who embrace pantheism reject the concept of a traditional, theistic, supernatural God in favor of a more tangible understanding of spirituality that is centered on the natural world. Creator and creation are one and the same in this worldview, and rather than looking to a separate, invisible, personified, idealized, supernatural entity for divine protection, forgiveness, or guidance, pantheists instead see nature itself as the highest source of inspiration, creativity, and power. Although certain elements of this belief system are ubiquitous throughout many ancient cultures and religious traditions, this abstract and unconventional view of God has never been formally codified or clearly defined and embraced by society as a whole. It has always remained a fringe or heretical notion, rejected by most mainstream organized religious institutions, with the only exception being those of the Eastern traditions, where the idea can be found within many of the teachings of Hinduism and Taoism, yet only as a vague aspect or component. In other words, pantheism has never stood on its own as a complete ontological model or a well-defined and organized system of thought. And yet, it is a mode of thought commonly held by many well-known and respected philosophers, artists, authors, and poets throughout history. A concept espoused and favored by many brilliant minds and acclaimed scientists as well, with Marcus Aurelius, Giordano Bruno, Baruch Spinoza, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Alan Watts, Carl Jung, and Carl Sagan being among them, just to name a few. At first glance, the pantheist worldview may appear a fanciful notion to those who are unfamiliar with it, but rest assured, it is very much a legitimate ontology, founded on logic, grounded in reason, confirmed by science. It is the preferred mindset for all those who've rejected the supernaturalism and archaic superstition and dogma of monotheism and polytheism, yet still believe that there is more to existence than just the cold, sterile, reductionist attitude of the staunch materialist atheist, who see the universe and nature as fundamentally hostile toward life, or at best, utterly indifferent. Despite these facts, pantheism has never received the mainstream attention or popularity that other philosophical and religious movements have, and there are very significant reasons for this. For starters, compared to most Western religions, pantheism seems very foreign and abstract, and this deeper understanding of nature and the universe does not come intuitively to most people. This is because there are specific influences and powers that we are exposed to in Western culture that teach the exact opposite. In traditional monotheism, for example, God is personal, requires absolute commitment from humanity, has many suspiciously human qualities and characteristics, for example, love, jealousy, and anger, and is also believed to reward and punish good and evil behavior. In Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, God intervenes, answers prayer, performs miracles, suspends the law of nature, oversees all the workings of the universe, and is very much involved in human affairs. His greatest concern being our ethical behavior and our faith and devotion to Him. Conversely, there are several enduring ancient mythologies and supernatural beliefs associated with theism that naturally bring comfort and security. And of course, it is much more satisfying and desirable to believe that there is an all-knowing, all-powerful, omnibenevolent Father figure looking out for us. But this is simply a placebo, and not at all how the real world works. And the presence of so much evil and suffering since the beginning of time makes it clear that no such deity could ever possibly exist in reality. Otherwise, it would be a terribly inept, incompetent, and neglectful creator at best. Pantheism and Biopan entertain none of this, since as a naturalistic philosophy, Biopan rejects all notions of a transcendent world or a fabled afterlife, choosing instead to focus on this one and only life alone. In this worldview, there are no benevolent deities or guardian angels present to keep watch over you when you travel. No heavenly realms of endless peace or bliss to look forward to after you die. No ultimate punishment for the wicked beyond what they may or may not suffer in this life. And no divine authority to dictate to others how they should live their lives and conduct themselves. Along with the non-existence of these elements, the absence of the power to influence, control, and manipulate others using guilt, fear, or any imposed threat of divine judgment. And so, for many, this is simply too discouraging to even consider. Biopantheism is vastly different, however, offering something that trumps all of these man-made delusions and childish beliefs. It honors the truth of reality, embracing both the good and the bad as well as the ugly, as these are all vital and fully accepted aspects of life. And as such, they should not be demonized or separated into distinct, exaggerated, or hyper-spiritualized categories, as most modern religions do. Rather than perpetuating duality, Biopans understand all things holistically, as part of a single, overarching unity that is divine in its all-encompassing size and scope and beauty. Yes, we are alone, and there are no imaginary genies in outer space to grant us wishes. But that's okay, because we are our own masters. We control our own destinies. We are responsible for ourselves and the paths we choose in life. There is no one up there watching over us, but this does not bring us sorrow or existential anxiety, because we have something real that is even more intelligent and reliable than any invented Bronze or Iron Age god made in the image of corrupted men. We have nature. We have our divine natures within us, and the omnipresent teacher that is all around us wherever we go, the natural world. We have the highest intelligence watching over us, our senses, our instincts, and our own minds. And we have the greatest moral judge there is to govern our behavior and guide us, the physical world, and our own elevated sense of right and wrong, made possible by our highly evolved human brain, which has the ability to think, reason, contemplate, and make ethical and moral decisions based on memory, logic, deductive reasoning, intuition, and common sense. We have the intellectual, emotional human conscience, which, if nurtured properly, will always act as a guide to steer us in the right direction when it comes to how we ought to treat one another and live. We have all the incredible gifts and benefits given to us by nature, to heal our bodies through plants and herbs and fungi, and all the glorious advantages of living in such a lush, green planet that is so wonderfully suited for our biology. A world that is overflowing with such diversity and complexity, filled to the brim with endless mysteries to discover and explore. We are very fortunate. In fact, I would even say we are blessed. I know this may seem like a completely different way of looking at things, especially if you are traditionally religious, but I guarantee you, it is a better way. For these and many more reasons, I have sought to teach and promote this philosophy. With the accumulated knowledge of more than 15 years worth of research, study, and observation, what I have created is a comprehensive synthesis that highlights the most pertinent and meaningful data we now have access to concerning the human animal and what is required to live, thrive, and sustain ourselves, and improve the quality of life for all conscious beings. A moral framework that will ensure our continued survival on this earth, a guide for human societies, allowing us to coexist in cooperation and unity by providing real and legitimate answers to the most important questions that mainstream religions have failed to provide, and by solving the greatest existential mysteries our species has sought to unravel since the beginning of time. By combining religious naturalism, deep ecology, and biocentric values, together with classical pantheist philosophy and a poetic pagan aesthetic in terms of symbolism, iconography, allegory, and metaphor, Biopan represents the quintessential balance between science and religion, as it is both a philosophical and ethical worldview and a tangible, contemporary form of spirituality. A path that embraces both ancient wisdom and modern scientific knowledge in a meaningful, practical, and coherent way. Not only does Biopan teach us to examine, explore, and embrace modern science and biology, it also leaves abundant room to experience the numinous. By encouraging its adherents to engage in and cultivate these mystical, transformative, and transcendent experiences afforded to us by our senses, and by way of inspiration, and to do so without abandoning critical thinking, logic, or reason. Rejecting the traditional notions of theism and the conventional doctrines, dogmas, and theologies of the Abrahamic faiths, Biopan stands as a healthy, rational, naturalistic alternative to the harmful and destructive fundamentalist religions that seek to manipulate others. Biopan represents a sanctuary for all those who have been wounded and oppressed by religious indoctrination, valuing objective truth and evidence-based thinking over superstition, emotionalism, and any unsupported false claims regarding the supernatural. Unreservedly, we seek to bridge the gap between atheism and naturalistic spirituality by cultivating a deep and abiding love and respect for the universe and all life forms. To us, Pan means nature, forests and trees, mountains and caverns, oceans, rivers, lakes and streams, plants and animals, earth and sky, body and mind. These things are holy, sacred, and worthy of the highest reverence and respect. The earth is our home, and all things are interrelated, interdependent, and interconnected. The universe is a living organism, an incomprehensibly massive collective intelligence of which we are all a significant and ever-evolving part. We are the eyes and ears of the cosmos, the veritable hands and feet of God, the ethical and moral aspects of nature, evolving and progressing daily, awakening, as it were, to our true identity. Our goal is to foster and promote these ideals and spread this worldview by encouraging unity, compassion, altruism, and love. To educate, enlighten, influence, and inspire both ourselves and others to live up to our own highest potential by recognizing and acknowledging our immanent and emergent Godhood and tapping into and harnessing our divine creative power, both as individuals and as a species. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to read more, please purchase and download the book in its entirety, now available at morndaybooks.com. Or you can also access this book directly by clicking on the link in the description area below. Now and forever, in nature we trust.